Alright, we got back to the event. I'm here with Bishop, and we're currently just waiting for Casey to pop out. Let's see. Waiting for Casey Neistat and Akilah Huges. I'm not sure who she is, but I know Casey. Everybody knows Casey, so maybe I'll get some questions in or something. I don't even know if he uses Sony. I thought he uses Canon last time I checked, but we're gonna see.
An incredible treat for you for last year. I know they need no introduction. These guys are cultural icons, and we're just so lucky to have them here with us today. Please welcome to the stage Casey Neistat and Akilah Huges.
Hi. Hello.
Casey!
I like that pronunciation, Neistat. I think anything, listen, it's a creative space, creative interpretation. How is everybody? How you doing? That good? Come on. Great, excellent.
You're really good at this.
I just feel like, listen, everybody here looks great. Everybody here has a camera out, and it looks like a big fancy one. You all are getting the audio. Let's give some audio.
I always thought of Akilah Huges as this like wild intellect who can bring such smart and intelligent perspectives to a conversation. I didn't know hype woman was also on your resume.
My dream, actually. So if anyone's hiring, the strike did just end. I will hype up anyone holding a camera. Well, I know we only have an hour together. Everyone here is really excited.
Your totally mediocre work. It was fun, I made it, whatever, click upload. It does like, a zillion views.
Yeah.
It does like 10x what my normal videos, because the zeitgeist was right. I had a great thumbnail. People were curious about the flooding. The title was sexy.
Yeah.
All of that. That was like my equivalent of the New Kids on the Block. You got the right stuff. Anybody who couldn't play on that is not thinking about it the minute it's over. But I made it because I knew it would kind of pop off, and I put work into it. It was fun enough, and whatever. It was me delivering popcorn and not something more meaningful. So I say all that just to contextualize the fact that, like, yeah, I only make videos for me.
Yeah.
Like, I try to subscribe to the religion of Rick Rubin, which is like,
Yeah.
when is a work good? When you think it's good. When is a work done? When you think it's done.
Yeah.
And that's really easy to do when I have 1,200 videos on my YouTube channel, and I do feel like I don't need outside reinforcement. Like, I'm fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine. I don't need pats on the back. I do it because I love it. But when I was like younger and starting out, it was a much scarier place.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was as true to myself then as I am now. Thus to say, it's a process. Like, you have to get there, and it's scary tomorrow.
Absolutely. I mean, I think this is a good time to talk about daily versus not daily. I don't know if there are daily vloggers in the audience, but
Do daily vloggers still exist? How
Yeah,
many of you
who
have
hasn't?
YouTube channels?
a lot.
And how many of you here are just more like regular still photographers? What do the rest of you do?
They're just vibing out. They don't even know where they are right now.
What's that? Just vibe. Free snacks.
The vibes are good. Well, I mean, I think that it's interesting because I've been on YouTube since like 2005 or something, but not like consistent, like the classic story of like every now and then I put out a banger, but it's a lot of random shit here and there. And I remember, I don't even know how I don't remember the first video I saw of yours, but I knew that you were like a big deal because at that point you had already gotten like 1 million followers from doing these daily videos. And they were also like so detailed that I was like, this man doesn't sleep. Like, how do you edit this in a day? And so I'm curious because I think a lot of people found you then. And now you don't do it daily, but it also does seem like you get a lot more time with your creativity. What do you prefer? And like, do you think, one way is better than the other?
It's tough. I think like it comes back to what your goals are. And I do think on a place like YouTube, there's an opportunity to build a rapport with your audience if you're uploading with some degree of consistency. I think like Mr. Beast is a prime example. He fluctuates from uploading once a week to once a month, but you know him.
Yeah.
You know Jimmy. His audience knows him. They know when they click on it, it's going to be Jimmy's face fucking screaming at you. You know what's coming because he's taken years, a decade plus, to build that relationship with his audience. And I built it in a much more compressed time frame. Like when I uploaded my first daily vlog, I'd already been on YouTube for 7 or 8 years. In 7 or 8 years, I've accumulated 100 million views, which I'm very proud of.
Hell yeah.
And I think something like 280,000 or 410,000 subscribers. And from the first daily vlog, 18 months later, I was at 10 million subscribers.
Yeah.
and a few billion views. So like my trajectory was like this. It was this bumpy, slow, very subtle incline, and then just exploded. And I credit that explosion not to making better work, but to people understanding who I was.
Yeah.
And some people, more than not, were like, I enjoy watching this kind of content. Oh, there's more. The next morning they wake up and they're like, oh, there's a little bit more. Continue that for like 800 straight days, and you build this really profound relationship with the audience.
Yeah.
And my job, my role now is just to make the work as good as I can make it, and the audience kept showing up.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I think like to try to do that today would be very different, because I think the appetite of viewers has changed so much in the last decade, and I think there's nothing novel about putting out work in such a manic pace. I think the world has really changed, but back then it was a very effective way of building a relationship with the audience.
And so now that you are like free of that, because I do think like, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like to me that would be really scary to have to live up to that. And also like to be so beholden to an audience that expects you to be available every day. So like, do you feel freer now? And also like, has it affected how you approach making work? Like, can you give it a lot more time, or like, is it still like you're making it frantically in a day?
No, it's made me worse. Like I think I was like the best version when I was uploading daily, because I talk about this in so many of my daily vlogs. But like what is it? Perfection is the enemy of good enough, or something.
Yeah, yeah. Don't make perfection the enemy of good.
Yeah, and like you have an obligation to post every day, and it felt like there was a gun to my head. I had to post every day, self-imposed. I was holding the gun. I didn't have time to stop and think like, is this a worthy idea? Like there were some days where I had nothing. I'm like, fuck, I got nothing. How do I make this work? How can I come up with 5 to 7 minutes of interestingness? That pressure is so positive for an artist, because like I don't have that pressure anymore. And on top of that, like I couldn't afford rent back then, and now I'm like I have a degree of financial security where like I'm not worried about paying rent this month or paying for lunch tomorrow. And what that does is it's like I get into my office, it's like, you know, time to make donuts, let's get to work and make a video. And then it's like, you know what else is cool? Watching TV. And I just fuck off every day. And I have nothing to show for it. So that,
I don't know, you're making it sound pretty tight.
that pressure of having to do it is really positive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I'm old school with this, but like, when I had an office job and had to show up every day, it made me a little better for some reason. Like when I was really, really broke and had to support my family, I worked in a restaurant as a dishwasher. I was the best dishwasher. On a Saturday night when we were down to 1 dishwasher, it was supposed to be 2. That bus bucket was never full. I was the best dishwasher because I had to be.
Yeah.
And now, like 3 dishes, I'd be like, I don't want to watch TV. Like so that pressure is really positive.
Yeah.
And I don't think it has to be as manic a video every day to view that pressure. But I think putting requirements on yourself, ones that have consequences.
Yeah.
I didn't post every day, my income wouldn't go away. Having that is ultimately for an artist a really positive thing.
Yeah.
If you'll let me babble for more about it, for a little bit longer about it. There's also something which is like second guessing yourself, which if you have an inkling of creativity in your being, which we all do, you have second guessed yourself before. This picture's not good enough to post, this video's not good enough, that idea's not good enough, I'm not going to tell him about this, I'm not going to tell her because it's stupid. When you have to post a fucking video every day,
It's good enough.
there's no second guessing yourself. It is just go.
Yeah.
It is just go. You don't get to look back. You don't get to pause and think. That last video I uploaded about the Lululemon thing, which I was really proud of that video. I thought it turned out really fun. That took me like 2 months to make because I was just like, nah, stupid idea. That doesn't work. Maybe I have to watch on TV. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
And when I had a daily video, I never had the opportunity to second guess my own creativity or ideas. And that made me that means some work I put out was a 6 instead of a 10. That makes you better. Like finishing something, putting the stamp on it, and moving on makes you better. It's having all of these unfinished things that flame the fire of insecurity, and that scare you and make you not want to create. And forcing yourself to finish, move on, it does make you better. And I miss that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I also think like there's something to having another chance the next day.
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, that one wasn't it.
What's the guy's name who shot that actress?
Oh, Alec Baldwin?
Alec Baldwin.
What a way to describe Alec Baldwin.
No, before he became a murderer.
Yeah, before
He
that.
talked about his role on 30 Rock.
Love it.
And he said he thinks it's his best performance because unlike the other roles that he's renowned for, like Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, or any of his fantastic performances, he got to have bad episodes and reinvent his character and flesh out his character. Like, if you think, like, what's your favorite show? If you think about The Office, like, Steve Carell was kind of a dick in the first season of The Office, where he was like a jerk, like, not likable.
Yeah.
And then in season 2, when he closed the deal with, like, at the Chili's, you guys know what I'm talking about? I'm talking to myself. But immediately, you were like, I fucking love that guy. And he reinvented his character. And I think episodic anything lets you do that.
Yeah.
And it is a way of refining your craft and getting better and better and better. Unlike putting everything you got into one thing, and if that one thing doesn't turn out the way you had hoped it to turn out, then I think the consequences wouldn't matter.
Oh yeah. Great answer. So I want to talk a little bit about inspiration. I think people love to be inspired, #inspired. Sometimes that word doesn't mean anything anymore, but I would like to be as specific as possible. So when I watch your work, one thing that does strike me is like how great of a documentarian you are. Like if, you know, in the future your daughters could watch it, their kids could see it, like you really have such a great, I think, just library of work that talks it, like it can speak to the times we're in, it speaks to the city you're in. And so I'm curious if you're a fan of documentaries and if there are any that you've seen throughout your life where you're like, the way they told that story has like reframed how I think about telling stories.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think I've been more affected by documentaries than narrative films, not from a creative standpoint, but from a purely inspirational standpoint. Like, when you're not bound to the limits of reality, you can make your story anything. You can make it about fucking living in space with laser swords and fucking talking Chewbacca's and stuff. That plays. But when it's a documentary, it has to be rooted in reality. And, like, Little Dieter Needs to Fly is maybe my favorite film, one of my favorite films. It's a movie Werner Herzog made about a guy who was a child in Germany in World War II. And he was a little kid. And the movie starts and he's telling the story about the Americans bombing his town, and his mom like running into the basement, and he runs up to the attic. And from like the top floor he sees an American pilot fly by in a P-51 Mustang and like salute the kid. And from that moment he's like, I will do anything in the fucking world to fly. And he like escaped Germany, poor kid, moved to the US, couldn't speak English, joined the Air Force, learned how to fly. They sent him to Vietnam. On his first mission, he gets shot down and then spends 5 years in a POW camp, like eating maggots to stay alive, escapes, like his friend dies. He's like eating live snakes to survive. He gets rescued. Like, that movie will fuck you up.
Yeah.
Like, it will destroy you. Like, when I found out this guy, Dieter Dangler, the real human, died like 5 or 6 years ago, like age 90, I cried. That was the bond I had with this total stranger from this documentary. That movie will make you burst into tears. And it's like when you see something that good, you're like, I can't stop until I'm that good. There are like when was the last time you listened to like Prince, Purple Rain?
Oh my God.
With noise canceling headphones on, and you're just like, I want to quit because I'll never make anything in my life it's as good as I'm experiencing right now. Like, that is the ultimate level of inspiration.
Can I give you a full sidebar on this?
Yes.
So, Purple Rain, okay, so in New York, you know how you all have like movies in the park? You have like Central Park, Bryant Park, like in the summer it's pretty lit. I think Bryant Park's on Mondays. So I love New York, I miss New York every day, I live in LA. They have something called Cinespia, where they, in like the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, show films.
Okay.
And so I went to see Purple Rain on the 4th of July, not this year, but the year before. And everyone sang along. Also, if you haven't seen Purple Rain, the movie is like, you know, the storytelling leaves a lot. It could have been a TV show. I feel like there's just like a lot of open plot lines.
Could have been 15 minutes.
Totally. But when he gets to Purple Rain at the end, you're like, I don't even care how bad
Nothing matters. Nothing matters.
And everyone sang along. And we were all like, that's an opus. Like, that's the peak of your craft. He looks amazing. It's like a 10-minute song. It's excellent.
It's like, yeah, and I think that like, truly great work should inspire.
Yeah.
You should watch that and be like, you know, I strive to make someone feel through my work
Yeah.
the way that this individual, this artist, Prince, Werner Herzog, made me feel via their work. I think that is the ultimate. It's like, you know, I'm a huge Tarantino fan.
Yeah.
But the movie that I study the most of his is Jackie Brown.
Oh my God.
Because it's the
What
movie
a,
that, in
if you
my
haven't
opinion,
seen Jackie Brown, as a black woman, I'm imploring you to see this. This is
watch. How many of you seen it in Glorious Bastards?
everybody.
How many of you seen Jackie Brown? That's not bad.
Actually, yeah, these are filmmakers. Maybe
But
they're just
Jackie Brown, like, nothing really happens.
No.
It's closer to a play than it is a movie. Like, but in that, it's the nuance, it is mastery. It is filmmaking mastery. And it's so good that, much like Purple Rain, it's one of those works of art, and I watch that and I feel defeated.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I will never make anything that good again.
All right,
That-
here's a circle
yeah.
jerky question. But what other metrics do you kind of factor in for building your kit? From, you know, if you're just doing a vlog on the fly to like a big commercial for someone else, like how do you factor in?
I think something that's really undervalued because it's so easy to access the very best. Like, you know, like my main camera is an A7S III. A7S III is near perfection. Like the image you're getting from it on a 40, wherever the screen is, like you're not going to tell the difference in the naked eye from that and fucking 35 millimeter. Treated right, if everything's done right. Like it is as close to perfection as possible. But I think now there's this thing which is because you can isn't make it perfect, you should make it perfect. At the expense of what is attached emotionally, narratively, to the aesthetic of a shot. And what I mean by that is like cell phone footage, iPhone footage, which is my least favorite, I fucking hate it. The reason why I hate it also is the reason why it's virtuous. I hate it because it looks like every video that the mom takes of their kid, every knucklehead who's filming themselves dance on TikTok, like, that is what cell phone footage is. But there's a tool to that.
Yeah.
There's a utility to that. We talked about the Lululemon video.
Yeah.
I was told not to film. So then all the footage you're seeing of me on set looks like those moms taking videos of their kids. And that evokes a certain sentiment,
Yeah.
which is like, oh, this is sneaky, or this is home video, or this
Yeah.
is something. And I think that that's what's overlooked. I just made a video with my friend Andrew Schultz, who's a comedian, and we shot it in the university subway system. And it's this really manic, fast-paced, fun video. And look, I have every piece of kit in the world. Like I have everything that you could want, I have at my disposal. And I wanted to make a video, music video, in a moving subway car. And I think 99 out of 100 filmmakers would be like, get the 3-axis gimbal.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, no, there's no gimbal here. It has to be handheld. I want to feel the imperfections of a handheld camera
Right.
because it will evoke this sense that it wasn't made by an agency who hired a DP who said, because we can make it perfectly stable, we will.
Right.
I wanted to evoke this sense that Andrew made this video with his friend. They just thought of it and did it. Fuck it, let's go.
Yeah.
To accomplish that, it had to be handheld. So that intentionality
Yeah.
with the hardware you choose and connecting that intent, that intentionality, to what you're trying to do creatively, narratively, what you're trying to say is something I think is overlooked.
Yeah.
Because gear is so fucking fun. It's so cool. You see the shit they have here?
Yeah.
It's fucking cool. You always want to use your coolest stuff. You always want to get the latest stuff. And I think pausing and saying, like, what am I trying to accomplish? There's
Yeah.
something very necessary about that. I just bought whatever the last, so my first ever video camera was like Sony TRV-11.
Wow.
2000, yeah.
Jesus.
That was like before you were born.
Yeah, totally.
But it shoots to tape. So I did all this research and I found that the last camera was that used the same CCD, the same 680 by 420, 640 by 480 CCD, to have that 90s video camera look, but it actually shot to a hard drive, like a moving hard drive with a handy cam. Sony made them in the late 2000s, mid to late 2000s, and I bought one. So it's compatible with my computer now, but it's shooting that 90s aesthetic.
Yeah.
And every time I shoot with that, it looks like what I'm trying to make it look. It makes you feel like that's old.
Yeah.
In a way that's let's do it in post. Anyone who says let's do it in post is immediately fired from my productions.
Yeah.
As if I have production people on there. But if I did, if you said let's do it in post, like get the fuck off the set.
Yeah.
Like do it in camera.
Or nothing.
You fucking coward. What are we talking about?
You know.
Riled up over here.
Well, I think the gear is super important because I think you make a great point about like the best way to tell the story and what you're trying to evoke. Like even in writing, which is more of my background, there's a great book which I think you all should read. It's by a guy named Raphael Bob Waxberg. He writes BoJack Horseman.
Okay.
He has a book called Someone Who Will Love You in All Your Damaged Glory, and it's a series of essays. But every essay it's so clear that he found the best way to tell the story that he wanted to tell. So like an example, he tells a story about being deeply in love with this woman who's not interested in him. And she finds him annoying. And so he tells the story through a series of limericks, so you get annoyed as you're reading about it. And I think the same is true of like filming, where it's like,
Sure.
if this has to be told in a way that feels like you're with your friends and this could have happened at 5 o'clock and you just decided to do it, then handheld makes sense. And so how do you develop that instinct? Because again, I think a lot of people here would say, well, I just want to look better than everybody else's stuff, and that's my like gift. But how do you also like pivot into the creative agency, I guess?
It's hard. I think you have to develop your own language. Like, one of my least favorite things is like when someone makes a video about something that is supposedly spontaneous, like proposing to their girlfriend or like, I don't know, telling someone they like, pick something spontaneous. But it's shot in like 4K, 120, stabilized with the camera at it. Like, I have no fucking relationship with this.
Yeah.
You make a video about how much you love your family and it's you and your children running through a wheat field looking like, you know, like looking like some feature film. Like, I don't trust that.
Yeah.
When I see that, I'm like, how many takes, bro? How many times did you have to scream at your 6-year-old? Susie!
The camera's over here, not
Over here, eyes up here. Like, I don't believe that for a fucking second.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very literal example of like, there is a connection we have, even though like, we all recognize it, because if you're in this room, you have some knowledge of the technicalities. But someone like my wife, she's not a filmmaker, she might not recognize it, she just won't like it. This didn't mean anything. Why? I don't know, just didn't mean anything.
Yeah, it looks like a commercial.
Yeah, like I have a bunch of those films where I like surprise my wife, and like, not on purpose, but like the camera's just thrown down. It's always a fucked up shot. And in what you're not seeing, your brain fills it in like this is real. So communicating the realness, the authenticity, supersedes what you're missing, or it's technical, like what it's lacking technically. And I think because now we're in this world where like everybody in this room with whatever camera's in your hand, you can make almost any movie. That there is this propensity to like, no, because I can, I should.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. Citizen Kane, like to date, one of the greatest films ever made, was still edited with scissors and Scotch tape. Like they couldn't, and they still did. And I think it's a very important reminder.
When I think about your career overall,